Hello anime fans, welcome to LG Sensei. Psychologically dark anime explores the perceptions, convictions, ideas, and attitudes that define the human condition by going into often unknown psychological territory. Dystopian, horror, and thriller aspects are adapted and skillfully incorporated into the story of this genre, which also twists Japanese animation concepts and elements to create moody, poor, and sometimes violent settings. Some adaptations take the opposite approach, creating relaxing atmospheres, which only serves to emphasize the creepy, unpleasant sense of these often psychological watching experiences. The darkness varies throughout this list. It is often unclear, other times it is only lurking, but it is always there. Here we have the top 10 dark psychological anime that will have your skin crawling. A true example of an anime with two parts is The Promised Neverland, a slow-building psychological horror thriller about kids discovering that life in their idyllic orphanage is not as perfect as they thought as the first season. The second season follows a fast pace through several storylines, bypassing over character and world building in the process. The first season is among the all-time greatest psychological anime, and the second is one of the most disappointing seasons in the genre. Fortunately, the first season provides a complete narrative with a beginning, middle, and finish. The Promised Neverland is exciting, dramatic, and scary. The anime also has likable heroes and a fearsome villain who manages to be frightening despite being a regular person. Erased created a big sensation when it was first released, and even though the anime's popularity has slightly faded over time, it is still a solid mystery show that nicely addresses serious subjects. Satoru briefly goes back in time just before disaster strikes in an effort to alter the course of events. After a particularly upsetting incident involving the murder of a loved one, Satoru goes back in time more than 10 years to when he is a little boy, allowing him the chance to prevent a series of disasters from the beginning. The suspenseful whodunit in Erased should keep fans wondering for a while. The anime, especially Kaio's miserable home life, shines when it focuses on the characters' lives outside of the murder investigation. A young man without much direction in life is suddenly transported to a fantasy world. Subaru quickly encounters a diverse group of ladies and becomes active in the political scene of this universe. Despite having all the characteristics of a traditional isekai anime, Re:Zero is everything but normal. Even though the protagonist has the power to restart after a death, Subaru pushes himself above his boundaries in a desperate attempt to play the hero, leading to unwanted outcomes and terrible consequences. Re:Zero shows the psychological cost of Subaru's actions, and it gradually does the same for Rem and Emilia. What happens when no one is certain if a buddy is still on their side or has been captured by the enemy? Parasite features aliens conquering Earth and penetrating the minds of the people that live there, much like the movie The Thing. The problem? When one of these parasitic aliens makes a mistake while trying to implant within Shinichi, a high school student, it discovers that the other aliens also want it killed. The two feel obligated to work together in order to survive, which leads to some spectacular situations where they must view life from various perspectives. Teenage terrorists. 12 and 9 are targeting Tokyo locations, but they take precautions to limit deaths. Terror in Resonance switches between the attackers and the detectives pursuing them, revealing the motives of each character. 12 and 9 are likable characters with sympathetic backstories, but the anime does not consider them as heroes. Rather, it is prepared to understand them without excusing them. The first few episodes of Terror in Resonance are excellent, maybe among the greatest of the decade. The second half of the show, especially the start of the character 5, tends to divide fans. Fans of psychological anime should still watch the show despite the latter.
Activating Dominator Portable Psychological Diagnosis and Suppression System. Now online. User authentication. Inspector of...
The Sybil system, a supercomputer that keeps track of people's mental and physical conditions in order to anticipate crimes before they happen, appears in Psycho Pass as having made crime irrelevant in an alternate Japan. Someone is escorted out of society if their Psycho Pass becomes irreparably terrible, which might occur as a result of extreme stress or trauma. With responsibility for maintaining public order, the Public Safety Bureau is equipped with a unique weapon that only fires when a target's Psycho Pass detects them as potentially hazardous. The cyberpunk anime explores Sybil's impact on society as general, as well as its impact at the micro level. The state does not provide the agents with a lot of support, and they continuously run the risk of tarnishing their Psycho Passes. Sadly, Psycho Pass's sequels are not nearly as fantastic, though they are by no means bad either. Psycho Pass's first season easily rates among the finest psychological thriller anime of all time.
Difference. You reap what you sow, especially about you.
Several of Satoshi Kon's works, including Paranoia Agent and Paprika, may have filled this slot, but Perfect Blue remains the director's undisputed psychological thriller. Mima Kirigo makes the terrible decision to quit her career as an idol in order to pursue acting, which causes her life to spin out of control. Mima's sense of reality keeps getting worse as she loses herself while being haunted by a stalker and connected to a series of killings. The barrier between truth and fiction is blurred in Perfect Blue, which is intentionally difficult to watch both philosophically and physically. Death Note is without a doubt the most popular psychological anime of all time. The rivalry between Light and L is legendary, and the series overall has held up well. High school student Light finds a Shinigami's notebook that has the lethal ability to kill anybody whose name is written on its pages. Light transforms into Kira, a serial murderer who murders those he perceives to be morally reprehensible, driven by a desire to create a better society. Police call in L, a super investigator who swiftly identifies Light as a person of interest as the case confuses them. Death Note is a fast-paced thrill ride that virtually never stops throwing curveballs, despite not being free of corny moments or narrative hiccups. The narrative dives deeply into Light's mind. He is a fascinating and intriguing figure who often divides audiences. L is treated with the same regard in the anime as well.
ガシッと俺の目に狂いはなかった。お前は最高だ。
何よ急に気持ち悪い。
Steins Gate embodies the story of two halves, but ones that perfectly balance one another. The first episode of the series mostly unfolds as a slice of life focused on the sci-fi-themed antics of a laboratory run by a fictional mad scientist named Rintaro Okabe. The finest usage of time travel in anime is seen in the second season's dramatic psychological thriller. Steins Gate not only digs deeply and amazing into its science fiction ideas, but also takes the time to mentally analyze its characters, especially Okabe. The protagonist's development is amazing, but there are many more complex characters in the series.
久しぶりですね。やっと会えましたね。ドクターテン。
Monster is a fantastic anime that clearly shows the inner agony people may experience depending on their choices. It follows Dr. Kenzu Tenma as he engages with the decision to conduct successful brain surgery on a celebrity rather than on a deserving immigrant worker. As a result, the worker experiences a severe moral dilemma since, despite the fact that he dies, the public continues to praise his activities. When given the same decision again, he decides to save a little child instead, which causes his life to fall apart because he decided not to operate on the town's mayor. Even if the excellent doctor's selfless choice ends his life, the mayhem has only just begun. Suddenly, the little boy Tenma protected grows into a violent adult who is fixated on the one who gave him life. Tenma embarks on an expedition that will test how far he would go to uphold his values because of guilt about letting Johan to live.